organs of the male reproductive system are specialized for the following functions. First, to produce, maintain, and transport sperm and protective fluid, that is, the semen, and discharge sperm within the female reproductive tract, and finally to produce and secrete male sex hormones. The male reproductive anatomy includes internal and external structures. The penis is the male organ for sexual intercourse. It has three parts: the root, the body or shaft, and the glands. The opening of the urethra, the tube that transports semen and urine, is at the tip of the glans penis. The penis also contains a number of sensitive nerve endings. The body of the penis is cylindrical in shape and consists of three internal chambers. These chambers are made up special sponge-like erectile tissue. This tissue contains thousands of large spaces that fill with blood when the man is sexually aroused. As the penis fills with blood, it becomes erect, which allows for penetration during sexual intercourse. The skin of the penis is loose and elastic to allow for changes in penis size during an erection. The scrotum is a loose pouch-like sac of skin that hangs behind the penis. It contains the testes, as well as many nerves and blood vessels. The scrotum has a protective function and acts as a climate control system for the testes. Testes are oval organs that lie in the scrotum, are responsible for making testosterone, the primary male sex hormone, and for producing sperm. The epididymis is a long, coiled tube that rests on the backside of each testicle. It functions in the carrying and storage of the sperm cells that are produced in the testes. It also is the job of the epididymis to bring the sperm to maturity. Since the sperm that emerge from the testes are immature and incapable of fertilization, during sexual arousal, contractions force the sperm into the vas deferens. Vas deferens, also called the ductus deferens, this thin muscular tube transports the sperm from the urethra in preparation for ejaculation. The urethra is the tube that carries semen and urine out of the penis. When the penis is erect during sex, the flow of urine is blocked from the urethra, allowing only semen to be ejaculated at orgasm. The seminal vesicles are sac-like pouches that attach to the vas deferens near the base of the bladder. The seminal vesicles produces sugar-rich fluid that provides the sperm with a source of energy and helps with the sperm's motility. The fluid of the seminal vesicles makes up most of the volume of a man's ejaculatory fluid. They are located at the base of the bladder. The two seminal vesicles secrete a thick fluid that nourishes the sperm. This walnut-sized gland contributes additional fluid to the ejaculate. Prostate fluids also help to nourish the sperm. The urethra, which carries the ejaculate to be expelled during orgasm, runs through the center of the prostate gland. The bulbourethral glands, or Cowper's glands, are pea-sized structures, located on the sides of the urethra, just below the prostate gland. These glands produce a clear, slippery fluid that empties directly into the urethra. This fluid serves to lubricate the urethra and to neutralize any acidity that may be present due to the residual drops of urine in the urethra. I'm going to describe the path of sperm. Well, the testes are where sperm are manufactured in the scrotum. The epididymis receives immature sperm from the testes and stores it several days. When ejaculation occurs, sperm is forcibly expelled from the tail of the epididymis into the deferent duct. Sperm then travels through the deferent duct, through up the spermatic cord into the pelvic cavity. Here, The vas deferens joins with the seminal vesicles to form the ejaculatory duct, which passes through the prostate and empties into the urethra. When ejaculation occurs, rhythmic muscle movements propel the sperm forward. Semen, which contains sperm, is ejaculated through the end of the penis when the man reaches orgasm. When the penis is erect, the flow of urine is blocked from the urethra, allowing only semen to be ejaculated at orgasm. The entire male reproductive system is dependent on hormones, which are chemicals that stimulate or regulate the activity of cells or organs. The primary hormones involved in the functioning of the male reproductive system are follicle-stimulating hormone (FSH), luteinizing hormone (LH), and testosterone. FSH and LH are produced by the pituitary gland located at the base of the brain. FSH is necessary for sperm production, spermatogenesis, and LH stimulates the production of testosterone, which is necessary to continue the process of spermatogenesis. Testosterone also is important in the development of male characteristics, including muscle mass and strength, fat distribution, bone mass, and sex drive. Negative feedback system occurs in the male with rising levels of testosterone acting on the hypothalamus and anterior pituitary to inhibit the release of GnRH, FSH, and LH. The Sertoli cells produce the hormone inhibin, which is released into the blood when the sperm count is too high. This inhibits the release of GnRH and FSH, which will cause spermatogenesis to slow down. If the sperm count reaches 20 ml per milliliter, the Sertoli cells cease the release of inhibin, allowing the sperm count to increase.
Ovary produce ova in mammals and secrete the hormones estrogen and progesterone. Oviduct, a duct through which an ovum passes from an ovary to the uterus or the exterior, called fallopian tubes in humans. Uterus, an organ in which the young are conceived and develop until birth, the womb. Endometrium, the mucous membrane that lines the uterus in mammals and in which fertilized eggs are implanted. Cervix, produce a mucus that facilitates the movement of sperm to the uterus. Vagina is the female reproductive tract and has two functions: sexual intercourse and childbirth. The external female genital organs are mons pubis, clitoris, opening of urethra, opening of vagina, perineum, anus, labia majora, labia minora, and hymen. Fertilization takes place in the fallopian tubes and implantation takes place in the wall of the uterus. The oocyte is produced in the ovary. First is the ovulation. In the first day is the fertilization. To the second to the fourth day is the cell division takes place. To the fourth to the fifth day is the blastocyte reaches uterus, and to the fifth to the ninth day is the blastocyte's implant. So the seed is first in the ovary, then passes through the fallopian tube, and in the end, it finishes in the uterus. This is the hypothalamus and pituitary gland. This gland secretes some hormones that we are going to talk about. The gonadotropin-releasing hormone is produced by the hypothalamus. It causes the release of two important hormones from the pituitary gland. Follicle-stimulating hormone is produced by the pituitary gland during the first half of the menstrual cycle in control of ovum production. Luteinizing hormone is also produced by the pituitary gland. It stimulates the ovaries to produce estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen, produced by the ovaries, it promotes the maturation and release of an ovum in every menstrual cycle. Progesterone, produced by the corpus luteum in the ovary, its function is to prepare the endometrium for the reception and development of the fertilized ovum. The ovarian cycle refers to the monthly series of events in the ovaries associated with the maturation and release of an ovum, and the just-in-case preparation for its fertilization and implantation in the uterus. The ovarian cycle consists of 2 consecutive phases, each of about 14 days duration. Events are measured from day 1, which is the first day of the last normal menstrual period. The follicular phase, days 1 to 14. It begins with the secretion of GnRH from the hypothalamus, which stimulates the pituitary gland to produce FSH and LH, which in turn act on the ovaries, telling the ovarian follicles to complete the maturation of an ovum. During this period, a few ovarian follicles containing immature ova develop and mature under the stimulation of FSH and LH. Usually, by day 14, only one follicle has become fully mature and the ovum it contains is ready to be released. All other follicles that had begun maturing during this phase of the ovarian cycle degenerate as soon as ovulation has occurred. The luteal phase, days 15 to 28. This phase is the period of corpus luteum activity, during which the uterus is prepared just in case of pregnancy. After ovulation has occurred, the corpus luteum begins to secrete progesterone, as well as a small amount of estrogen. Progesterone maintains the uterus in a state ready to receive and nourish an embryo. The lining of the uterus, the endometrium, becomes thicker, more richly nourished by the blood vessels, and more receptive to the fertilized ovum. Progesterone also inhibits any further release of FSH or LH from the pituitary gland. Thus, ovulation is quickly followed by a rise in the level of progesterone in the circulation, as the corpus luteum takes over the production of this hormone. As the progesterone level rises, it circulates around the body in the blood. When a high concentration of progesterone reaches the hypothalamus in the brain, the effect is to stop the hypothalamus from producing GnRH. The uterine cycle. The uterine cycle indicates the cyclical changes that occur in the uterus in response to the female sex hormones, progesterone, and estrogen. The menstrual phase, days 1 to 5. If fertilization does not occur after ovulation, the corpus luteum will degenerate and production of progesterone will decrease, so the stimulus for maintaining the thick on the endometrium will disappear. The reduction in progesterone causes the shedding of the thick endometrial lining. The muscular wall of the uterus, the myometrium, contracts to help cut off the blood supply to the endometrium, causing it to break away from the uterus. The mixture of tissue and blood passes out through the vagina as a menstrual fluid or menstrual flow, usually for a period of about 3 to 5 days. Other common names for menstruation are monthly bleeding or menstrual period. The proliferative phase, day 6 to 14. The concentration of estrogen in the blood is rising during this period, following the end of menstruation, as the ovaries prepare for the next ovulation of around day 13. It is called the proliferative phase, or proliferative means to multiply or increase, because in this period the endometrium grows thicker and becomes more richly fed by blood vessels in the preparation for the possibility of fertilization and pregnancy. The secretory phase, days 15 to 28. During this phase, the blood concentration of progesterone increases, which causes even more blood vessels to grow into the endometrium. This makes the endometrium receptive to the fertilized ovum. If the ovum is fertilized and the embryo implants in the endometrium and a placenta develops, it produces a hormone called human chorionic gonadotrophin, HCG. Throughout pregnancy, the detection of HCG in a woman's urine is the basis of most pregnancy tests. The 2 cycles occur currently and are tightly regulated by hormones released from the endocrine system. The changes in the ovary are regulated by hormones released from the anterior pituitary gland, and the changes observed in the uterine cycle are regulated by hormones released from the ovary during the ovarian cycle. Here we can see a summary of the hormonal events controlling these cycles and the anatomical changes that occur in the ovary and uterus.
There are several methods available to block the anus reproductive potential in human beings. Birth control methods are used to regulate the number of children a couple will have. Not single idea method of birth control exists. Abstinence is the most breedable birth control method we have, and it means not engaging to any sexual contact. This form of birth control also the advantage of preventing sexually transmitted diseases. Surgical sterilization is a product that makes a person available to reproduce. The most common means of sterilization in males is the vasectomy, in which parts of each vas defenders are removed. Even though sperm reproduction continues in testes and sperm cannot longer reach the exterior. In females, the sterilization is done by tubal ligation, in which both oviducts are tied off and then cut, resulting in the secondary oocyte being unavailable to pass through the oviducts, and sperm can't reach the oocyte. Oral contraceptives of birth control pills contain various of mixtures and estrogens of progestins. They prevent pregnancy mainly by negative feedback inhibition of FSH and LH. The low levels of these two hormones prevents the development of the follicle, and estrogen doesn't rise the surge of LH. It doesn't happen, and ovulation is not tricked when taken properly. The pill is almost 100% effective. The emergency contraception is also known as the morning after pill, contains relatively high levels of estrogens and progestin, which gives negative feedback inhibition of FSH and LH secretion, causing the ovaries to increase secretion of the estrogens and progesterone. These declining levels of estrogens and progesterone induce the breakdown of endometrium, tubally blocking the implantation. When two pills are taken within 72 hours after unprotected, and another two pills are taken in 12 hours later, the chance of pregnancy is reduced by the 75% of effective. And intrauterine device, or the IUD, is a small object made of plastic, copper, or stainless steel that is inserted into the uterus by a physician. The IUD causes changes in the endometrium and prevents the implantation of fertilized egg. Spermicides are chemicals and contain sperm-killing agents to come in foams, creams, jellies, supporties, and douches. They making the vagina and cervix unfordable for the suboricine sperm. Condoms are great at preventing both pregnancy and STDs. If you follow the instructions and use them every time you have the vaginal, anal, or oral sex, there's very little chance of pregnancy or giving an STD. Almost a 98% effective at preventing pregnancy. Another one is the diaphragm, that is a rubber and fits over the cervix and is used together with the spermis, and it can be inserted in 6 hours before you have sex. It stops sperm from passing into the cervix, and spermicide kills most of the sperm. One last important topic of this evidence is the sexually transmitted diseases, also called as sexually transmitted infections, are infections that spread from one person to another through sexual contact. They have become common among teens and can affect both males and females who are having sex, independent of their economic status. STDs are a seriously health problem that when left untreated you result in infertility and even death. For these reasons, it's important to learn how to protect yourself having sex. They can spread through vaginal, oral, or anal sex, and without skin-to-skin contact with an infected area or sore. Some people don't even know that, and they get infected or danger of passing an infection on their sex partners without even realizing it. There